I think this is definitely worth a look. So there was a there was a post on Spectrum asking, request for Yogi, can you make a video showing us what Master Mode's combat should look like? And there are a lot of people saying a lot of bad things about Master Modes. And let me tell you something. There's a lot of people who disagree. Well, not a lot of people who disagree about it. It's hard to tell the who thinks it's good and who thinks it's bad. Now, before I get into any of this, the one thing that I think everybody should be saying is what they think. Good, bad, or ugly. As the way I am and the type of streamer that I am and the type of person that I am, no matter what, you should say what you think on these things. Right? No matter what. So the people who are like blasting it, good. There's a thread that has like tons of upvotes and stuff on it. I question if those upvotes are legitimate because it's so many. I've never seen that many before. So part of me thinks that it's like a section of the community that is hating on it and brigading that post to make it seem more popular than it is. But I also see so many people say it's bad. So I believe that to be true, but I have the little doubts in my mind that it's being brigaded. Little doubts. And that's fine. That doesn't take away from the things that were posted. Because the people who wrote posts wrote what they thought, and it was meaningful, and it matters, because that's what they thought. Right? Some people like it, some people don't. It is what it is. It's idiotic for them to make a video about what it should look like. And he touches on it right at the beginning. It doesn't matter what they think. It matters how we play it. And then they adjust based off of that. They try to steer us in a certain direction due to design and tunings, but they can't solve all that problems. If I like it or not is, I have not played it enough to make an opinion, I don't think, that I'm comfortable with. Speaking about. So the people who have written these big things, if they have given it enough time and aren't just reacting to it too quickly, then yeah, that stuff is super valid. I don't know if they can see like how much time people have played or whatever, right? Has Dev ever dropped a video on request? No, of course not. Have devs done anything on request of the community here? Not really. And then they say, we try to steer players in a certain direction due to the design and tuning values, but whether it works could not even be properly evaluated with experimental modes, which we had online and master modes for two whole reasons. It can only be seen once we play test it with a wide user base that has very different capabilities, hardware, equipment, and play styles. And this is exactly what we're doing right now by pushing the changes to 3.23. I think the reason why you ask your question is because you're unhappy with the current state of the polish. And you know what? I would agree. And that's the big thing here, is they also agree. Everyone's kind of freaking out like this is the fundamental change to master modes means that it's going to stay largely this way. It could change, but the reason people are upset is because of Star Citizen's history. We've already been through this twice. And that is absolutely true, Game Overture. Master Mode deniers refuse to acknowledge the fundamental design flaws it fixes. Now, I think I literally closed Twitter when I saw this post, not because I was angry about it or anything. Let me just search for it because I don't see it anymore. This is from Virgil, regular on the show, and arguably one of the best pilots in the world. With 323 around the corner, Star Citizen, here's my current opinion of things. Master Mode solved the issue of fights not reaching a conclusion, but the experience is numb and placid. I think he means flaccid. I don't know. PvP has to get more exciting than this. 95% aim, 5% flight. The depth of a puddle, not good. This is somebody who has defended the shit out of it. Right? This is somebody who's defended the shit out of it up until now. So it clearly isn't in a very good state. Right? If somebody who thinks it foundationally is a good idea, and again, it has fixed a lot of issues, but it's created some of its own, right? So you can't ignore that either. And a lot of people are addressing the issues that it has created, not the ones that it's fixing. Going a bit further on this from my dev POV, it was extremely important to get all the Squadron 42 tech concerning master modes, aiming, ship retunings, etc. into 323. And this was not just his decision. This was clearly Richard Tyrer's. We saw that on SCL. Doing this all in one quarter was very challenging, and we said multiple times that 323 won't be the Combat Jesus patch, and that there should not be an expectation of a perfectly balanced game. Nobody's asking about that. I don't think in the stuff that I'm seeing. The stuff that I'm seeing, people think that is a fundamentally bad change. It was too much content for the team size that we have. So while there's a certain risk to push a feature out early, the simple truth here is that it also saves time further down the line. First of all, the features get a lot of exposure to players, which gives us more feedback and useful game analytics. Second, it saves internally a lot of maintenance time, as we don't need to care anymore about legacy systems. So we opted for the variant to be bold and get the stuff into players' hands earlier, earlier than keeping it to develop without feedback. There you go. So this is very similar to their communication around replication layer and the fact that this patch is going to suck. Stability-wise, it's going to suck. Master modes is going to suck. And this patch is just generally going to suck. And I have a hard time arguing as a non-combat enjoyer that this is a bad decision. So for people who generally PvP a lot, this patch is going to suck. Just like anybody who wants to play the game is generally going to suck. Right? In terms of stability, and then you don't get what you want out of PvP or whatever. So based on that, I'm summing up my own feelings like this. I'm very happy with the progress of Master Modes in 323 because this is the dev speaking of, it was very hard. We got it in and it quote unquote works, I guess, right? And I think that's a good enough state to offer better gameplay experience compared to 322. It fixes some of the issues for 322. It is arguable if this is a better gameplay experience. Yet, it was a huge challenge to pull all that tech in the PU, and almost all of the ships are now in a better relationship to each other, specifically in group fights. I am not happy with the overall state of Master Modes, or shall we say the flight and combat experience, as we have not hit all the markers that we wanted to hit. So that is the most important thing. He is not happy, and he puts it in bold. I am not happy either. Right? I am not happy either. For you to say it's 100% not as fun, I will say it is more fun to somebody like me because I notice I hit my shots more often and I see those shots hitting. It's visually appealing. I'm able to hit more often. That is a good feeling for me. But I understand that what feels good for me may not be good for the overall combat experience. So just because it feels good for me doesn't mean it's good. Doesn't mean it's good. And that's the thing, is people take their own anecdotes and make them as fact. That means that the overall game is good. So I respect people that don't think it's good. And again, everybody should be sharing their opinions everywhere, all the time about this game. Feedback. That's the only thing we should be doing. And your opinions, whether they're positive or negative, should not be received negatively because somebody doesn't necessarily agree with them. We need to be saying what we think, and we need to have this community has to stop muting people and telling them that they're wrong because your anecdote feels different than theirs. They're just putting their opinion out there. You put yours out there, and we see what happens. And that's how it has to be. There is way too much like people pushing off the people who feel that Master Mode sucks, and there's way too much pushing people that think it's good as well, or just in anything. Like any positivity in the game sometimes gets shoved away by like people in my community, right? Oh, they're just white knight, or oh, they're high on copium, right? We gotta listen to everybody, and we gotta hear things. Because I looked at that thread on, like, there's a huge thread on Master Modes, and the first thing I thought is, this shit's getting brigaded. But that doesn't mean that the things that are being posted in there aren't legitimate. It doesn't. So whether there's 500 people that agree and 800 upvoted because they were using alts, doesn't mean it's not valid feedback, right? The only way it would not be valid feedback is if they didn't play and they posted that feedback, right? The only way it would not be valid feedback is if they posted it and it was like, I watched Avenger 1 and I am parroting things that he said. Then it's not valid feedback. And I don't know if they have analytics to be able to see that. It's probably impossible. So anyway, he's not happy. And just to make it clear that we hear players, here's some of the issues we'd like to approach. Some of them are from our own list. Others come directly from player feedback, some from both, in no particular order. Snub fighters are not really where they need to be. I wonder what he means by that. Too good or too bad? I don't know. LFs are now too weak. Light fighters are now too weak. 1v1 dogfights are lacking. Ability to evade shots. Adding jerk back to IFCS, trying out an egg-shaped velocity space to suppress backstrafing, iterating on the AI to make it less hit perfect when we want, teaching the AI to not overly rely on backstrafing, iterating on nav to SCM spool times, ESP not being as good as it needs to be, turret ESP being somewhat wacky on sticks, make the piloting combat less about aim and more about flight. Bang, right on to the tweet from one of the best pilots in the game, right there. Less about aim, more about flight, addressing that tweet right there. Aiming system, networking not performing well enough. Issues with certain mining and salvaging ships not being able to use gimbals from cockpit seats. Issues with G-force zoom effects being inconsistent. Specific ship tunings that feel out of whack. Redeemer, Saber. There was a huge thread about the Redeemer that was totally valid, right? Iterating, and people were telling this guy to shut up. You know what I mean? Like, this is the fucking community we have. It's a joke. It's actually a joke. Right? And you can, like, you can see, I think that there's a guy, Heim Delight or something, right? Combat enthusiast, loves it. He's on Twitter constantly spamming shit. Does that mean his opinion doesn't matter? No. It just means that he's being annoying. And that's the worry, is that sometimes the way people give feedback is annoying. And they get tuned out because they're being annoying. I don't think Heim is getting tuned out, by the way. But I think the community tunes out players. And I think the dev team is made up of humans that will also tune out players, right? And that starts to become the problem. People definitely tune out my feedback because I'm an asshole, right? It's all the same. But you as an individual can and should tune out my feedback. Them as developers should never tune out feedback, right? Gaming communities on the internet are awful everywhere. It won't change because rage gets clicks. No, because people take video games really seriously. Rage does not get clicks. It's such a joke. At least in this community, rage doesn't get clicks. Positivity does. But the thing about the people who are like raging a lot is that I worry that the devs ignore them because they're raging a lot and they're like, oh, that guy again, right? But in reality, if that guy made a good argument, which Heim Delight, Greasy, other people who arguably, like, I mean, these are people that have said horrible fucking things about me. Heim Delight especially. That doesn't mean that their opinion shouldn't be heard. And I hope that they are, right? Because it doesn't matter. If those people play the game a lot, their feedback matters, right? Yeah, if Rage got clicks, Gem Reviews would be the biggest Star Citizen content creator, but he's not. So, where do we stop? Specific ship tunings out of whack, iterating with speed walls and ship tunings in general, missiles flying way too fast for Master Mode's tuning, integration of flight mechanics and combat geometry with RN. Resource network, thank you. Yeah, that's going to be crazy. As you can see here, there's a lot of stuff related to flight and combat experience that needs to be addressed. Once that has happened, we might consider making a video. But that point is not now. And even when we reach it, I'd say that our content creators will do a much better job than us, bunch of devs working on flight and combat. So, like, also saying, like, hey, we hear the content creators is too. Because, yeah, I guess that needed to be said. I don't know why. But that sounds like a really good response to the hate around master modes. But I do think some people are worried that master modes is fundamentally broken, where they do not. I think if this is on their list, they think that they can fix those things. We'll see. So A1's flight model is better, he admits? No, he doesn't. They literally were on a podcast together and said no. It's a huge list. So how many years for this list is a good question. Right? But I think that's a great post and a great way to deal with the community. And again, I think we as a community have to stop shitting on people who are passionate in whatever way they end up being passionate about. Right? And I think we just need to let people speak and stop trying to silence them, whether you agree with them or not. And that's it. So, really good post. Hopefully, this calms some people down a little bit. But at the same time, for some people, this patch is going to be boring. And that's it. There's not much. You can't have him make this list and tune every ship in master modes in one patch. It's just not a reality. And I think some people want that to be a reality. And it's just not possible. So the hope is that this is a good foundation and that we can watch this grow into what people want it to be. I hope. But I've been here before, and we thought this was the case the last time with some things. I thought this was the case with, like, inventory and looting, and we never saw that grow into anything. So we'll have to see. If you're still around, you have to have some ounce of confidence that they'll do something exciting. And I'm hoping they are, but I don't know. You know, we'll just have to see. But just keep giving feedback on what you don't like. But also give feedback on what you do. And then we'll see the game get better.